Hello and welcome to Take Your Time, a Persona podcast in which we've been playing Persona 3 Reload along with the in-game calendar. And folks, we've arrived at the end. It is March 4th and 5th that we'll be covering on this week's episode. And there might be a story beat or two for us to talk about as we hit the end of this game and our journey together. Before we get to all of that, though, I'm joined, as always, well, no, I should introduce myself. I'm your host, Jonathon Dornbush. That's how scattered I am because there's so much to discuss. And I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Tom Marks. And Tom, normally I ask you how you're doing, but this time I'm going to ask you, how was my goddamn poker face this season?
I mean, it was good.
You didn't know.
What, the end?
The end.
No.
Okay, good.
I mean, I definitely didn't get anything from you.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can get stuff outwardly, but yeah.
No, I didn't see this coming. Pretty much at all. I mean, I didn't see it coming in that it felt like a wild twist. I think it's we'll get into it, but like it's very fitting ending. But yeah, no, I don't think there was anything that let this slip. I didn't get spoiled by anybody in the comments. Thank you very much for that. I didn't get anybody, sending me, messaging me on social media with spoilers. Yeah, I'm very glad that I got to experience. It always feels like a gift when you can experience a moment like this in a game from so many years ago, untainted and unspoiled. So that's very nice.
Yeah, absolutely. I was hoping that would be the case for you, so I am glad to hear it was, because yes, we'll have a lot, I think, to talk about, and also a lot of wonderful input, as you were mentioning, from that wonderful community who didn't spoil it for you. So thank you to everyone who has played along with this ruse as we've gone along. But before we get there, we will have plenty to talk about for March 4th and 5th. Obviously, spoilers ahead. But first, we want to do our final Confidant call-out. This is a huge thank you to everyone who has been supporting us over at patreon.com/takeyourtime, which I don't need to really promote anymore because we're putting it on pause, but I'll mention that again in a second. This is just a huge thank you, before we get into that, of the Confidant call-out to everyone who legitimately has been so wonderfully supportive and kind and collaborative and excited and enthusiastic about this show over the last year at the Patreon. It has been so heartwarming to know you've been along with all of us for this ride, that you've all been, and that we have been able to enjoy this weird, wacky journey together. So for the last time, a particular thank you and confidant call out to the following: Bob and Tim 64, Brody S, Cameron C, Claudia R, Dallas, Damon, Dan, Danimal Lover, Default Titus, Dexter, Caitlin E, Keegan H, Matt Attack, Michael V, P. King, Programmer Sid, Sam K, Sarah M, Shade, Something Witty, Willy Wang Wang, and Zachary L. Thank you, and again to everyone over at the Patreon who's been supporting us, as well as everyone who's been listening on audio downloads, on YouTube, just wherever you've been enjoying the show. It has been such a blast to go through all of this with you, and just thank you for listening to our shenanigans for a literal year almost. As I mentioned, obviously we are going to be putting the Patreon, if you missed the message before, we are putting the Patreon on hold as we are, going on break with the show on an indefinite hiatus as we finish Persona 3 Reload. Though, as we have said, we will be releasing for everyone at the end of this month, end of March, on March 31st, an episode focused on the DLC for Persona 3 Reload, episode Aegis, The Answer. So you have a month. It is not a short DLC. Yeah. It could take you 30-ish hours to play through, so take your time with it. Enjoy.
And I have not started it yet because I wanted to do this episode before I started it, so I don't know what's coming.
Well, you've got a month, so you can space it out, I hope. We'll see how it goes, and obviously we'll ring in the end of this journey there, and that'll be a blast. But of course, we have the end of this game to talk about now, and I am very excited because I've been holding on to this from Tom for a year. And yeah, we're gonna be able to get into all of this.
Which part specifically?
The part where you get to find out what Suimitsu's been up to.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. He's a star. Everyone loves him. He's the best of the best. We will get to the fates of everyone in this episode because if you didn't know, you can kind of find out, as someone I think we mentioned in a recent episode, someone in the community had mentioned, there's kind of almost a final social link episode with almost every social link here.
Yeah, pretty much. Some are shorter, some are longer, some are go to a second location, some don't. My favorite part is that all of the ones that take you somewhere leave you there.
Yes.
So if someone says, let's go get takoyaki, you're just in a different area now.
Which I kind of liked. It kind of made sense in a fun way.
It's funny.
There's also a lot of letters we get because, as we know, people have moved away. But yeah. Is there anything else at the top of the show, Tom, before we dig in that you want to say?
No, I think you covered it. I'm ready. You know, I will say this. I'm glad I waited because I understand what you mean about it hitting harder if you've just come off the end. I get that. I feel that. I agree with that. But also, it was fun that in the game, everyone had memory problems because of this magic stuff and was like, oh yeah, didn't we do that thing? And I'm like, yeah, I guess we did. I can't remember. It was literally 8 months ago.
That's really cute. I like that. Yeah.
So there was a little bit of like the delay, the wait actually did sort of enhance that part of it in the dumb way that this show can do those things.
Which is all we can ask for from this weird experiment. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into March 4th, which is the day we return to after that long hiatus. And
which looked familiar.
Yes,
for me.
Yes, it did. This is, of course, as we talked about, and perhaps if you missed it or haven't seen it yourself, there is a variant of this scene that you might have already seen, because when you get
the bad ending,
the dark ending, when you get to make the choice with Ryoji in December, you can get to a point where you jump to this essentially same scenario. Obviously, things go on a little bit differently from here, but we do show up kind of in front of school. We're talking to Junpei. Things are we're outside the school. Aigis is watching us. It's that cute little, essentially moment of, we can't quite remember why we don't know her. They're talking about people moving out of the dorm. It's like life has gone on and we're not the group of people who went through this arduous journey over the last year. We are just students again.
Yeah, I think they mention Mitsuru too and are like, oh yeah, she's also in our dorm, right? But then don't. It's very much a setting the stage that a lot is the same, a lot is different. It also sets a stage on, just like you don't have your memory for a lot of the year. Seems like it's been missing because a lot of people are like, oh yeah, time kind of flew by. What happened with that? And that's like a theme that comes up a lot throughout this. That and, hey man, you look bad, you should lie down or something, also comes up a lot.
It does. You're not feeling so hot is a thing you are told many times, which most people would take offense at, but
no, I mean, sense. Yeah, it does. Given you are a literal walking corpse.
Yes. But before we get to that, we can dive in, and I think probably the best way to take this is essentially what happens is after you have that morning scene, unless I'm forgetting anything, I think it just cuts to after school. And,
yes, I have in my notes friend stravaganza at the top of my notes in all caps. So yes. I think that's where that starts.
That feels very fitting. So basically, you do get a chance to essentially talk to every social link, I believe that you've completed, I would guess, unless I'm mistaken.
Yes, anybody that got to 10, so I was missing Hayase and Hiraga.
Cool, so I can tell you about those.
And then everybody else was there. The other thing, which is where I'd like to start,
yes, me as well.
You also get to check in on all the little conversations with all the people around town.
Excellent. Well, we can start there. I was going to also say you do get the opportunity also to check in on a couple of the linked characters, so essentially mostly the boys who you don't really have social links with. They are also available to talk with.
Everyone who has the equivalent of a social link.
Yes, but if you
except for Elizabeth, I guess.
That's fair. Yeah, because if you haven't, it is worth checking out. But if you go try and find the Velvet Room back in that hallway, it is just an empty hall in the back there at the mall.
Yeah. Go back to that pop quiz.
It is. I was about to say. Anyway, where do you want to start? What were the little conversations? Because obviously, like the big social links are where I want to dig in. But what I think
Yeah.
intrigued you as you've been
There
following.
was a couple that I caught. So like the couple that's sitting on the bench, the guy is like, "Oh man, nothing in our relationship has changed. Everything is sad." And the girl is like, "Nothing in a relationship has changed, but I like being with him still." And it's like that dynamic is still cute. The funniest one to me was the stalker boy and girl, because the girl is like, wow, I really wasted last year. I spent all year either stalking some guy or getting stalked. I really got to move on with my life and figure out what I'm doing, which I was sad that it didn't end with them getting together.
Sure.
And then you go talk to the boy, and he's like, man, I don't know what I'm going to do. I can't get over her still. So it ends with him still stalking her and her being like, I got to move on with my life, which is a really, really not where I thought that one was going to end.
Honestly,
I thought either both of them would move on or they would get together or something, but instead it's just like, nope, he's still just a stalker.
I would say not shocking for a teen boy to not get over a girl, even if she's not interested in him. That feels probably pretty true to life.
I guess. It
But,
just was,
yeah,
I was
it's
hoping
very
for a
funny.
little bit more of a rounded end there.
No, not so much.
Another sad one is the little boy who wanted a cat.
Oh,
His
yeah.
mom finally agrees to get him a cat, and now the cat's gone, and he's like, it's okay. I hope it's happy wherever it is. And that was kind of sad. But then if you go to the back alley, all of the cats are there for some reason. I don't know why, but all of the cats are hanging out in the back alley.
They're alley cats.
I mean, I suppose that's true.
And if you found
yeah.
10 of them, you get an Alley Cat Strike, the Disney Channel original movie that I vaguely remember from when I was a child.
No, it's an alternate, because it's 9 lives, an alternate condition for resurrecting Chidori and then never mentioning it again. That doesn't come back up.
No.
Can we just address that doesn't come back up? Because that doesn't come back up.
Well, I was going to ask you because I don't remember from my first playthrough. It obviously doesn't for me because I didn't resurrect her. She's still dead in my universe, so...
Doesn't come back up.
Fair
you
enough.
even talk to Junpei, and he has that moment where he's like, wait, I'm forgetting something really important. And he's acting like she's still dead.
Yeah.
And they just basically like pretend it didn't happen for the entire rest of the game.
Well, I mean, to some extent, though, if the only thing he remembered was that he fell in love with a girl who died and then came back to life, that would probably start to pick at why he doesn't remember things.
Yes.
So it almost makes sense that hasn't come back in for him yet.
Let's see. So where did I actually start? My first one, let's do Hiraga and Hayase first, I guess, because I
Yeah.
didn't see them.
That works great for me. Let me scroll through my very long list. I should have just put them together. Here we go. Hiraga, pretty simple to talk about. He took the test to get into med school or whatever. He failed it because he hasn't been studying all year. And, he's not kept up with things. But he basically
Wow.
is just like, I'm going to prepare and take the test again because this is what I want to do. And that's essentially it.
Wow, that's kind of grim, but okay.
Yeah. And then Hayase, you get a letter from him because, as I mentioned, he's moved out of town. He kind of talks about he is working at a factory at this point, obviously like trying to make a living doing all these things. And though he's missed the chance to do track because that was his life and he loved it so much, they've actually formed a track group at the factory he works at, like a run club, and they've gotten to go on all these big adventures and they're like running up mountains, doing these incredible like nature runs. And so he has found a way to incorporate that love into his life, even though it is not his profession.
That's cute. I wish that Hiraga could learn that lesson.
Yeah, it's sweet. He also talks about his mom is getting better and he's happy that he can take care of the people who mattered in his life because of what he learned from us, basically.
Yeah. That's nice.
So those are sweet.
So I started with, I mean, if you don't mind,
No, go for it.
unless you want to jump around, we could just go down the list as I have it in
Yeah,
order
please.
for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Because it's also just funny. I don't know exactly how I chose the order that I did, but it was vibes and location based.
I get it. I was very similar, so.
Starting with Koromaru.
All right. No, that is not where I started.
Koromaru doesn't have much of a thing at all. He basically just wants you to be happy.
Well,
That's That's all I wrote down.
I literally
he's just like, hey, you're looking a little rough. I just want you to be happy. And that's it.
I literally wrote down Koromaru's sad because yes, that is basically what happens here. And obviously, if you know what's coming, it makes it even sadder because you essentially go, don't worry about it, pal. We'll be happy. And it's like, oh, good. Yay. I'm so happy. And then it's like, nah, no, we're not going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These all vary in depth and length
Absolutely.
and interestingness, but I also appreciate that. I liked that some of them were a little more involved. I liked that some of them were a little simpler. I liked that they weren't all the same message, right? I appreciated how much variety there was across these.
Yeah.
The second one, I just kind of moved along and I did the strip mall. So the old couple, the bookstore, they said they're going to refurbish the bookstore, right? And then they also, the main kind of thing, I really wrote down just sort of the main points of these.
Totally.
The school is replanting the persimmon tree of their sons to look over the school, and they make some jokes, and it's cute. And I forgot how much I kind of enjoyed Bunkichi's sense of humor from the beginning of the game, so that was nice to check back in with them.
Yeah, just a sweet moment of, hey, they're getting to still memorialize their son. I think if you can actually talk to them again after you have that conversation, there's like another little silly goof or whatever, but yeah, it's like are thinking of redoing the bookstore, giving it like a facelift and all that. Yeah, it's cute.
Right. Then was Suemitsu, who is actually really good at his job, and people know him as the Gourmet King, and him making recommendations on menus have made incredible dishes at those restaurants, and also he's touring the country writing a book and is getting his own statue.
A King Suemitsu statue.
What? What?
I've got to say, I think, like, pound for pound, beat for beat, he is probably the one who gets the best result of being our maxed friend from where he started. Yeah. Obsessed in a cult, grieving his brother and being an asshole to people. He is now the world, like, the premier food critic / consultant.
This one also has the best, by far, interactive bit, which is you're talking to this reporter, and the reporter's like, you look like a high school student. Do you know King Suemitsu? And your choices killed me.
They're so
because
good.
Your choices are, we go to the same school, I don't know him, or he's my best friend. And it's like, it's so funny how quickly you as a character can just be like, oh yeah, no, of course, he's my best. Like, just be just an absolute piece of crap, like coattail riding. He's famous now, yeah. Well, we used to, like, you know, it's like every bully in every high school thing where one of the main character like gets famous all of a sudden, and then he's like, oh yeah, it was, what is it in Spider-Man 3? It's like Flash immediately being like, oh yeah, Peter Parker and I are best friends. It's
my
like,
best pal. Yeah.
That happened in Princess Diaries too. It's a classic trope, and I fully leaned into it.
Me too. And I love that they're like, do you mean like how we all know him? Yeah, great.
Yeah.
They're like, there, you little idiot.
Yeah. Anyway, that was a very silly one. It's so funny. You're dead on. It's so funny how they don't just make him have a happy ending. They make him have like the happiest ending possible for him.
That dude lucked out by us saving him from a cult and people beating him up.
All we had to do is tell him to be himself, and suddenly they're making statues of him.
Wish that was the case for me, but anyway, who did you talk to next?
I do think to
yes.
Just real quick.
Yeah.
A little bit serious. I do think that part of it is also that they bring up, the restaurant workers, I think, bring up things that he said to them about their dishes with you, I think. Or like
so.
The implication is that like he is already doing this sort, like he was already good at what he was doing, and then when you told him to just be himself and lean into what he was already doing, it worked for him. And I think that is the larger message here, which I like.
Yes, we did not make him good at being a food critic. We just helped him self-actualize, self-realize what he had in him. And yes, this is, I think, a running theme of this is not that you taught these people how to be good at what they do, but you taught them to believe in themselves, and having that support is what mattered for them.
Yeah.
And what caused the change. Yeah.
So then I went to the shrine.
Okay.
And I talked to Maiko's dad first, who buys you takoyaki and is very sad and says that Maiko and her mom are doing super well without him, and he's really bummed about it. And then he says something about reading her diary or letters from her, Maiko, and her wanting to marry you one day, and he flips out on you and then leaves.
It's so funny how seriously he takes the writing of like an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
But I get it. He's protected.
This one feels very much like they wanted you to make sure that you knew that Maiko was having a happy ending, but they didn't know really how to do that or who to have the letter from. So they were like, what if the dad did it? And then that kind of brought up some other questions of like, wouldn't this guy be pretty not in a great spot? And he definitely isn't. And then you have to go through that stuff. It's just like a very messy one.
It's all very logical, but yeah, it opens a can of worms about this family's backstory. Yeah.
Yeah. Then staying in the shrine, I talked to Kamiki's mom.
Yes.
It was on his 20th birthday. That conversation is great, genuinely great, and extremely heavy.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this back and forth, and you might have more detailed notes than me, but, like, it's just is really, really deep and really, like, hard-hitting and obviously very tied into everything that's going on in the game and death and the themes of the game. But, yeah, it's like a very real piece of writing.
No, it's fantastic. It's I guess just to briefly go through it, she tells us about how, like, essentially what he died from was a genetic disease that, while it didn't affect her, he essentially got the brunt of it. And, in his sort of final days as he was dying, he would say things of like being sorry to have brought her such pain, but that he was glad to be born and be her son. I wrote down a fair bit of it, so I could just kind of keep going if that's okay.
However much you want to.
And then she starts talking about how, like, at this point in time, she feels so alone, but, like, she has to keep going and do everything that he couldn't do. So she wants to travel the world, see the sights, eat the foods that he couldn't, so that, like, when she gets to see him again in the afterlife, she can tell him about all those things and they can share that together. And it is beautiful. I think, like, a thing that really struck me here, and I guess, like, just to get a little bit real for a second, was, like, when my mom passed away when I was young, a thing that really struck me in the days after that was someone going like, man, your grandpa must feel so terrible because no parent wants to outlive their child. And I hadn't thought about that. And I thought that this conversation does such a tremendous job at getting at that without ever really explicitly, like, saying those words of, man, it's hard to be a parent who lost their kid. But that is what this is about. And I think it speaks to it very well. It is really, I think, acutely on the money for likely how someone would feel in this capacity. And it's, I think it's really nice to see also this person take, because you can see someone go the opposite direction, but here you are seeing the benefit of someone who is like, if this were to ruin my life and lead me down a path of, like, the world is over, you would totally understand where they were coming from. But they have chosen, like, no, I need to keep living. And in fact, I need to live even more for him.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. Yeah. I think it's great.
Yeah. It's heavy.
Yeah.
It was a good one.
Definitely different from Suimitsu. But
yes. From there, I went to the mall.
Okay.
And first I talked to the bartender who had gotten a call from Mutatsu, which is like a very funny roundabout way to get that delivered to you.
Yeah.
But I really liked that it was delivered in his voice. I like that the letters are delivered in their actual voices.
Me
It's
too.
A very nice touch. And basically Mutatsu just tells you that he found his wife and son and has moved back in with them and is taking his licks for what he did wrong, but loves them and is doing his best to do right. And it's like, good, nice, happy ending. This is like one of the very few ones I feel like that is very just like, yeah, nice happy ending, tie a bow on it, we can move on, you know?
Absolutely. Like, at the end of the day, this guy drunkenly vented to you for 10 nights, and that's kind of your relationship. And so I think it works in that context. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Absolutely.
No, good.
From there... Oh, yeah. I went to the school, and Ken was out in front of the school, and the school is where most of these are.
Is the majority. Yeah.
Yeah. And Ken is there dropping off something at the school, and he mentions forgetting about Shinji and being sad about it and not knowing why, and kind of is just sort of in the state of a lot of the party members of like not really remembering what's going on in a way that none of the, like, all the social links, the main social links are sort of just resolutions to their story more so, whereas all the party ones are, or not all, but there's a lot of the party ones are also like, I feel like I've lost time in some way, especially the guy ones are like that.
Yes, I think when you take a look at these in the way that these obviously had to be dealt with in the linked episodes, they're pulling at slightly different threads here that it feels like they needed to follow up on. And yes, they are pretty sad. I think the Ken one where I think I even wrote it down. I think he specifically says he feels unbearably sad when he remembers Aragaki. And
But just doesn't know why.
And yeah, which is such
Heavy.
a crushing thought. Yeah. But,
yeah. So from there, I went to meet Tsuru,
Okay.
who takes you to the student council room and basically says, the notes I have are, the Kirijo group could collapse at any time. And then she wonders, like, basically what would have happened if she hadn't met you, and was glad that you gave her the courage to stand up to that jerk she was supposed to marry. And it seems like we're still dating in this universe, because there were a lot of blushing emoji, like, faces from her.
You are, because my conversation and my notes were slightly different, as I imagine they will then be for our Yukari ending.
Yes.
Mine is mostly, she talks about, wanting to keep the Kirijo group together. I think that's there. It's basically her saying about how she feels comfortable in her own skin. But it sort of ends on just this note of like, I really hope we'll get to hang out and spend some free time together. You'll have to get your motorcycle license soon, but it's said in a very like friendly way. There is not the blushing and the stuff of that. She's just kind of like, hey, it's fun to ride a motorcycle.
This one, she actually says, like, I need to introduce you to the heads of the family.
I don't have that happen. Yeah, that's just for the romance. Yeah.
So then this is a weird thing where, like, I just had a conversation with Yukari and Junpei about how nobody knows really who Mitsuru is. And then you go to Mitsuru and she's like, yeah, we're still dating.
It is weird. It's definitely one of those things where it's like, I understand where I guess they felt like there's only so much to account for here. And, it probably led to all these programming paths and whatnot. And
what did and didn't happen is just sort of muddied in a way that is fine. It doesn't matter.
But no, you're totally right. It is a very funny, even, when Yukari and Junpei and us are all talking out front, like, we're friendly. But the way that, like, my main character is dating Yukari, you would think they would have a different relationship to each other by this point.
Right.
But yeah.
From there, I went to Chidori.
Chidori?
Yeah. Oh,
Chihaya.
Sorry.
I was like, I thought you said she wasn't there.
Chihiro?
Chihiro. Yeah, not Chihaya.
Chihaya, Chidori, Chihiro. Yeah, oh man.
Sorry, everyone.
Chihiro.
Yes.
Or is that the girl from Spirited Away?
It might be, but this is also Chihiro.
Okay.
Yes.
Getting really mixed up. I think that is her name, though. Wait, give me 2 seconds.
It's Chihiro. I have it written down.
No. In Spirited Away. It is also Chihiro in Spirited Away. Okay. Gotcha. It's funny that I didn't make that connection till just now. Anyway, so I went to Chihiro, and no, there's no Chidori conversation. The first thing that stood out to me about this is that she's reading the, like, poster board thing, and the thing she's reading, she wants to protest a thing called the Dark History of Student-Teacher Romance. And she's, like, against slandering student-teacher romance, seems to be the way she's talking about it.
I wrote down, is writing a letter to protest people who are against free love between students and teachers. Like, it's... I think it's, as the conversation goes on, I think it is just a weird conception. Like, the idea behind this is just strange. Because I think at the end of the day, she's trying to convey that she can stand up for something, and that what she's broadly against is the idea of, like, knocking people for how they are. but it's like, yeah, but we're talking about adults and children.
Yeah.
And there's it's a very weird conversation.
I am surprised. It is a thing. It's not a big deal, but it is one of those things that I am surprised they didn't change in Reload. Right? That they didn't just change the name of this thing that she is looking at, because currently she is advocating that students and teachers should be allowed to date.
Yeah.
And that it's wrong to say they shouldn't.
It's very strange.
That's what she is arguing. So it's an odd end to that.
Yeah.
She talks about, though, how she has confidence now and she wants to stay on the student council and be the student council president at some point, and she's going, which is good. So that's good, I guess.
She's got chutzpah now,
yeah.
I guess the lesson. But speaking of that subject, do we want to talk about Toriumi next?
Yeah, I did do Fuka next, but let's do Toriumi, because this one was maybe my favorite of the entire bunch.
It's so good. I think Suimitsu is maybe the funniest from like a conceptual level, but what practically happens here is just damn good comedy.
It's good comedy. It's a great payoff.
Yeah.
It's a great punchline to the whole thing, because you can piece together pretty easily that this is Toriumi, but I didn't think Maya was going to be in the end bit, and I'm so glad that you get a little bit of resolution. So obviously what happens with this one is that you go to talk to Miss Toriumi, who's talking to one of the other teachers, the teacher that's going to go to Spain or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And that teacher is telling her how Miss Toriumi seems more passionate and more involved and is being a really good teacher and like wants to try to be a good teacher. And she says, yeah, basically. And then as you're leaving, you drop your phone. And I love this detail too. She picks it up, and the background of your phone, which is so cute that you did this, right, as your character, is the screenshot of her I love you message from the game. And she goes into...
She has a meltdown.
For the rest of the thing, just full panic attack mode. It's really funny how long it goes and how much she's just we talked about how good voice acting. This voice acting perfectly nails the tone that needs to be happening here.
Yeah.
Because she realizes that you two are the who you are, and she starts thinking about like, did somebody share this? There was no one else in the server. Oh my god, that means. And then you can kind of poke fun at her and make fun of her for it. And she's super embarrassed and adorable, and it just keeps going. And then finally, she can't believe she said all that stuff to you. Finally, she says thank you genuinely, of like, if I ever got to meet you, thank you for giving me the confidence to be who I am. And she, thanks you for doing what you're doing, or what you did. And then the only black spot on this is that she asks you out at the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's played as like a really adorable joke where she's like, I mean, it's not a joke to her, but she like definitely is like, can we go get dinner later? But she like hates that she's asking it. She absolutely despises that she's asking it. And then the scene just ends.
Yeah, I have to give credit to the voice actor for, I think you're totally right. There is such a wonderful hint of, I can't believe I'm saying this. Because like, obviously we, coming off of the Chihiro conversation, it's weird. We talked about Persona 5. I don't like it that you can date the teachers. It's gross. I don't like it. That's where we are on it. But there is something to the voice acting here where it's like the disbelief in her own voice that she is saying this is really well done. And to your point, almost makes me like, as much as I don't like that content, almost makes me forgive it because the performance is so good. But this whole scene, other than that, this is one of those ones where like, I kind of steered us away from doing a social link tier list, because this one for me makes the Maya conversation go from like, it was fun, to like, man, what an ending. This is so funny, so well done. It really, really works.
It's a great payoff. And I continue to think Miss Toriumi is... I think I'm just going to declare it now that I've seen the end of the base game. Miss Toriumi is the most underrated character in this entire game. She has such genuine good, clear personality and is so funny and just isn't in the game they just don't give her many opportunities to talk. And I feel like every time she does get an opportunity to talk, I enjoy and want to see more of that character.
No, she is fantastic for the brief screen time that she has. It's a really, really well done performance. I was trying to look up the voice actor's name quickly enough, but was not able to. So we can keep going. And then Caitlin Galt is, fantastic in the role. So excellent work. Also, the whole voice cast in general is really great.
Yeah.
But it's just coming off of that scene, it's so well done. Moving on from there, Fuka.
Yeah, so technically I did Fuka first.
Yeah.
Fuka wants to start a tech club at the school, and Ikoda is a huge dick about it, is the headline of my notes. But she says she's finally comfortable being herself and not hiding her love of electronics, and she says everyone supported her and she was really glad about that, but also doesn't remember who everyone is when she was referring to everyone or what that means. So there was some of the memory stuff in there. This goes along with, again, I wish that this was confidant rank number 7 or 8 for her and not the last one of the game.
I was about to say, can you imagine a scenario, because obviously we shared our feelings on the Fuka social link, and I also want to say I do appreciate, I think, where people called in with their own beliefs or called in, vote in, and I totally get where they're coming from. But man, I just see like the potential here of what if that social link was about Fuka starting the tech club, needing your help getting people involved, and then her realizing she can do it herself, and then maybe there's a tech club, I don't know, a robot competition or something. Like, it just feels like it writes itself.
Or even not that much. Like, yes,
sure,
that would be cool. But, like, even if the first half of it was about food and they cut out all of the filler bits where you just, like, repeat the same scene of her making you food twice, and instead made that 5 things about food and then transitioned into, it was never really about food. I didn't think I could be myself and express my actual interests. And then have the back half of it be this tech club. Yeah. Then that would make so much more sense to me. Yeah. That would make so much more sense to me structurally. But c'est la vie. I really did like this end for Fuka. I think it's a great place to leave this character going forward with her story and who she wants to be and what she's doing is very... It feels very nice for her to get this ending.
For sure.
And I was glad to see it after being disappointed with how the other one kind of played out. Totally. Or like the main line played out.
Yeah, it does help put it in a good place as we leave her. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Who's next for you?
Miyamoto, I think I talked to, and he's a really quick one. He's basically like, I'm cured, and that's it. He just says he went to the doctor and they checked out his knee and he can run again and he's happy.
Sorry for being selfish. I'm in good shape now. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Odagiri was right near him. He's quitting the student council. I wrote a thing down. Instead of believing in revolution by those in power, he believes in education of heart and mind for everyone. Basically, Odagiri was a fascist who learned that educating the masses is actually a more powerful way to enact change. Is like kind of how he comes around.
It's pretty heavy, but yeah, pretty accurate. I do like during this conversation, though, it almost sounds like he starts to say things and it's like, is he about to become a political radical? It's like, not exactly. He's just going to help education. Hopefully he believes good stuff, but he's trying to educate people to help them make better informed decisions. It's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He says he wants to be a teacher. He also kind of addresses a nice thing, which is like, nobody else cared about the smoking incident. It wasn't a big deal to anyone except for him. And it's kind of good to have him acknowledge that because it lowers the stakes. Like the stakes on that whole social link were really high for unnecessary feeling reasons. So to have that character be like, yeah, I really overreacted about that whole thing kind of makes it make a lot more sense.
It's great. Yeah.
For me.
It's a nice touch. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. I like his storyline ultimately. Because of this end, I like it because it's one of the very few that talks about, the dynamics of people in power and looking at that side of things in all of this. And Yeah, I think it just adds it touches on a topic. Even if I wasn't like crazy in love with the storyline overall, still it touches on topics I think that a lot of the others don't, in ways that I think was ultimately good. When you have the character relinquish his power that he was abusing, is that's an interesting arc.
No, totally. And yeah, to your point, I think this conversation really helps bring into perspective that storyline in a way that benefits that whole social link. So
Yeah,
it's a good one.
Then I went to Bebe from there.
Okay.
Or I should say Mr.
letter.
Ono with a letter from Bebe.
Yeah.
And this one was kind of funny. He was so worried that his uncle wasn't going to let him come back. And then he shows the uncle the kimono, and his uncle loves the kimono so much that he eventually relents and say, fine, you can go back. And then you find out that he only was there because everyone in town pitched in to pay for him to go, and he can't do it again, and he decides to be the bigger person and not come back and just study Japan in his home country instead.
Yeah, and he's enrolled in fashion school. He's doing well.
Yeah.
There's also a little bit, just I guess to bring it to the game's focus on death. You know, he doesn't want to leave his uncle while he's grieving the loss of what would be his wife, Bebe's aunt.
Right.
And so there's, that little twist to it as well. But yeah, to your point, it's just a sweet, like, oh, he's just a good guy. He just doesn't want to, take advantage of people.
It's him sort of maturing off camera. Yeah. I guess that's why I feel weird. Like, not bad about it, but like, I don't know how fully to feel about it, because it's like a lot of character growth happens all at once off camera.
Yes. Yeah. This one I think it's interesting, but it doesn't really hit me because it's just, here's everything all at once. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's okay. It's fine. I talked to Yuko next. Yuko is going to the public library to study sports physiology, and she's excited to do it. And her storyline is also pretty just simple. She's chasing her goals and chasing her dreams really hard, and cool. Good for you, Yuko.
Yeah, this one I think has maybe the least payoff or least necessity as some of the other scenes in this moment do.
Actually, can I say what I think is actually maybe the least necessity? Because it was the next one I did.
Oh, I thought we were going to save this one for last, but yeah, go for it.
No, Akihiko.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Akihiko's conversation is basically nothing, which was disappointing, but basically he's just reflects on some stuff and says that he's always on your side, and that's it. It doesn't really talk about anything.
No, he talks, this is another, I think, more of the memory things where he's like, I've dedicated myself to boxing for 3 years and nothing else. Huh. Weird. Yeah. It's one of those.
Yeah, so a little funny there, but that's okay, because I still love Akihiko.
Same. The Junpei one is also pretty quick, just in that regard, and if you're thinking about the team, like group
yeah,
of
but
Cs.
Junpei is also heavy as hell.
Yes. Yeah.
But you're totally right. Junpei wants to hang out. Miss Toriumi yelled at him, and then he kind of has a moment where he says something along the lines of like, at least because he's talking about Kenji, is it? Yeah, he's talking about Kenji is like wants to go hit on the teachers.
Well, that's Kenji's final one.
Right,
also,
but Junpei, Junpei brings it up and is like, too bad he doesn't have anyone special in his life like I do. Wait, right? And then realizes this horrible thing. And he gets really serious really quick, where he's like, oh my God, I have forgotten something I really, really should not have forgotten.
Yeah.
And that one gets very dire. He also says something, I think, at this point where he says Miss Toriumi got so serious, because he also references back to Miss Toriumi being a better teacher now. Mm-hmm. He says Miss Toriumi got so serious you can't even bribe her with cake anymore, which I thought was a good callback to, I think, one of my first pop quizzes in this show.
It might have been, yeah. I think it was definitely one of the earliest. Man.
Yeah.
What a time.
And then we did, Yukari. I did Yukari before Junpei. So what happens with Yukari? Because for me, it was just that she wants you to meet her mom, and what is it? Oh yeah, she just wants you to like go hang out on spring break trip and wants you to meet her mom, and that's it pretty much.
So ours is largely the same, but it's also about, hey, we should spend some time together on spring break, and like, what if we spent some time alone together? And it's just kind of like,
what if we kissed?
yeah, what if we did a smooch? Basically, she's just like, you know, all of this, and basically is planning spring break. And like, do you think we'll still be together by then? Which is very sad in the context of the ending. But, you know, she essentially, it's just a little bit more of a romantic tinge to the spring break planning is what happens.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So yeah, that's that one. And
Okay.
then last but not least,
I saved the best for last.
our first friend,
Kenji.
that little weird, creepy horn dog.
He's literally, my notes just say Kenji is a horny dummy.
He is. And I love that he's so upset that his sister is coming to visit because he's like, there are teachers to hit on, man. I can't have my sister dragging me down.
So there's 3 new teachers joining. All of them are women, and he wants to go ogle them.
What an idiot.
Just learned absolutely nothing from his arc. No character development whatsoever. No acknowledgement of the fact that he borderline ruined a woman's life. Just really messed up.
He was also my last one, and it is so funny to have gone through all of these conversations where people are like, you helped me so much. I learned so much about myself from you. Life is now incredible. I'm achieving my dreams. Hey, buddy, you want to check out the ladies? And it's like, what is that? That's where... Okay, got it. Cool, dude.
Well, the real final one,
Yes.
after you go back to the dorm, after you're done with that.
In the evening.
In the evening is you walk into the dorm and you go back to the TV and Tanaka is there. This goes on so long. It's a news report about Tanaka. It goes on forever.
It's incredible that I think it's fair to say one of my least enjoyed social links somehow gets the royal treatment in this game. I don't know whose choice that was. But.
So the gist of it is that the news caught wind that Tanaka made some large personal expenditure, and he's called a press conference to maybe talk about what it was because people think he's corrupt, and you secretly know that maybe he donated to charity, right?
Yes, yeah.
And then instead of telling everyone that he donated to charity, he turns the press conference into a big ad for his show and then says, I'll never tell you what I spent the money on, and leaves. And one of the TV commentators, who they cut back to like 3 times in the middle of all of this, really hates the dude.
Yeah.
And talks about how awful he is. And I think the moral here is that you convinced him to donate money and he didn't make a big deal out of it. And that you know he's a better person even though he's letting the world hate him still.
Yeah. I think it's like he didn't
That's
do
the
it.
most generous reading I can give.
He didn't do it for the goodwill. He did it because it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And he's proving that out. But the fact that he's making such a big deal about it is like, well... It still feels like you're trying to prove something here.
He's proving it by being horrible.
Yes. Yeah. I love that he also, the other newscaster reads out his entire letter, even as half of it is an advertisement, and she just keeps going.
It just keeps going. The whole thing keeps going.
It's
it just
very
keeps going.
Yeah.
It's a funny little coda. I do wish it wasn't the last one you had to do.
I know. That is I think my biggest problem with it, because I do think it's funny. But yeah, my biggest problem is just that, like, it's such a weird note to leave on, because this evening you can't leave. There's no one else around to talk to. You're feeling really burnt out and down and out of it. And you're just, Morgana is there to tell you to go to bed. Like, that is really what tonight is. You, especially after a day of everyone telling you you're pretty rough looking, you feel that way definitely at this moment.
Yeah. And there is one little bonus thing you can do, which is you can go talk to Yukari.
Yeah.
And she's by the computer and mentions a photo with Aragaki, and you can look at it, and it's that photo of Akihiko Mitsuru and Aragaki together, and you can talk about how he must have used to live here, and it's basically just like, it's basically Shinji's final one of these, but he's not here to have it.
Yeah, which is nice that he's not forgotten. I feel like it kind of gets addressed a little bit with Ken, but yeah, it's nice that a moment is given to him. I appreciate it.
Yeah, exactly. And then you go to bed, right?
Yeah, and that's the end of the game. The game ends there, and you just have a night to yourself. No, then we hit March 5th, our final
Well, there's
day.
also the text message at the end.
I don't think I got a text message. Oh, God.
Wow, that was a maniacal laugh.
I was
sorry
really,
if that
I
popped.
was like, oh, my God. Oh, no. What did I forget?
So I looked this up because I wanted to learn more about it.
Yeah.
If you completed Ryoji's confidant link,
Oh.
you get a moment where you look at the music box he gives you,
I think I got this in my first playthrough. Yeah.
and then you get a text message from an anonymous number that says thank you.
Okay. Yes, you're right. I do remember that. It's good.
So you get a little moment with Ryoji too.
It's good. Do you remember, by the way, because I rewatched it before today's episode because it's going to come up from the questions that we have. Did you spot Ryoji in the opening credits?
In like the opening title sequence of the game,
Yeah. He's briefly there.
I spotted his persona form, his shadow form.
You see a version of him because there's essentially a reflection that gets shown of him, and you see his cool scarf, and that's how it like kind of denotes him in there. Yeah,
That's cool. Yeah, no, I didn't see that, but I did see. I think I saw the shadow death thing.
Yeah. We'll get there. I have some comments from people, but before we do, March 5th,
Yes,
Igus appears at our door in the morning.
You're still feeling rough.
Yes, you're feeling pretty bad. Igus shows up. You need a moment to collect yourself, and then you go to the door, and she's like, I remember everything. She remembers she was afraid that we might go somewhere far away. She was worried about all these things, but hey, graduation has begun. We should go wait for everyone. Like, do you remember the promise we made? Let's go, wait for everyone.
And this was also an interesting thing because the ceremony has already started. You've slept in.
That's how tired.
Yeah,
that's
you
how much
couldn't
you've
get
given
out
up.
of bed, and you just skipped the ceremony, and you're just going straight to the roof with her.
Yeah. So you head out, and it cuts to the graduation ceremony, which I've got to say is pretty dour. For this being the good ending, it's a pretty dour ceremony. Mitsuru is the valedictorian, starts giving a speech, and as she's talking about her father dying, that's when she sort of had this sudden... she talks about him having this sudden illness that killed him. She remembers the actual truth, that that's not what happened. And she talks a little bit about things, and she gives sort of like an impassioned personal missive about how she, had lost this motivation to live. And as she's talking kind of simultaneously, everyone else starts to remember. Yukari, Akihiko, Junpei, Fuka. Everyone's remembering. Ken is running with Koromaru to school. They're coming to meet up with everyone because everyone's kind of having this group, strike of lightning that they've remembered what they promised to each other, what they've been through, and they have to all do this to each other or be together in this moment. That's what they agreed upon. And she, talks about facing the future head on and jumps off stage and they all meet up and are like, we're going to head out of here mid ceremony. And I love how abrupt it is. They're just like, they don't care about what's going on outside of their bubble right now.
And this is also the point where it breaks from the bad ending, where the bad ending, you sit there and Mitsuru's giving a speech and she just continues through it. And then you have some last little conversation with Yukari and Junpei and then it ends.
Yeah, we're not going to karaoke this time, unfortunately.
Yeah. Exactly.
So that all happens, and then I would say that's in the 2D animated cutscene style. Then it cuts to the 3D animation cutscene style. We're getting these sort of like beautiful cherry blossom tree shots. Things are going on, and it cuts to
it's really pretty, really peaceful. It's lovely.
The piano theme I think starts here. Which I guess a question for you. Let's not talk about it too much, but have you gone back to the title screen since you beat the game?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because the piano theme essentially recurs there. It's a really beautiful theme. And that starts playing. You're seeing all of this. Igus is on the roof. You are resting your head like laid down in her lap.
Which I thought was very sweet. And then as it dawned on me what was going on, I got very sad.
Yeah. I want to hear about your, I think maybe what do you think is the best way?
Go ahead.
I'll talk through it.
Go through it.
I want to hear from you, and then I can tell you kind of about my like second realization of this moment. She talks about how like nice the wind feels. She's noticing the beauty of spring. and kind of goes on this large scale talk of how each and every season will come to an end, but we faced the world's end. She's realized that like what it was she was finally searching for, and it was what it means to live, following your heart, fighting for what you can change and accepting what you can't, noting that like nothing lasts forever. And as soon as you come to terms with that, you see what really matters and find out what gives your life meaning. And when she wasn't strong enough, she now understands why. She was given this duty, but it is more than an obligation. Something clicked for her. And when she thought about not seeing us again, she understood what mattered most. She wants to protect us from now until the end of time, stay by our side. If she had died, then it was for nothing. It would have been a waste. If she dies for us, then nothing's will have been a waste. Basically, life will have had meaning. We get kind of a moment to be like, it's okay, don't cry. We wipe her tears away. Is this where the first dialogue option comes up, I think? Or is that later?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you basically just get like a quick option of it's okay or don't cry. You wipe her tears. She very clearly, I think, understands what's happening at this point. She's very aware of what is happening to you in this moment. We start to hear the gang running up their excited jubilation at this moment of getting to be together again as they know themselves to be. She realizes though that like she has friends, we support each other. Just caring about someone can be enough, and that's all we need to give life meaning. She found her meaning. She thanks us for it and tells us to rest because of clearly how tired we are. She won't be going anywhere. Piano notes are playing. The others will join us. We start to get sleepy. It appears on screen that my eyes feel heavy. You get kind of a final look, and our eyes close.
Well, you get a dialogue choice.
Excuse me. Yes, you do. I think mine was my eyes feel heavy.
The choice was either close your eyes.
Oh, close your eyes or just
dot.
Thank you. Yes, close your eyes or dot. I chose dot.
I chose dot too because I didn't know what was going on.
Yep. Yeah. And then it kind of cuts away from that. The blue butterfly that has obviously been a motif, and obviously if you know Persona lore means a little bit more, flutters across the screen. And then it cuts back to us. She says, "It's okay. She's right by our side. She's here." And the group arrives on the roof. God, this scene kills me. They're all like happy and joyful and all together. Ken is holding Koromaru.
Yeah.
It's so cute how he's holding him. And they're all really happy together and joyful. And it ends with Aigis smiling back at them and fades to white.
Yeah, and doesn't show you.
No.
And so my all caps notes of the last notes of this show were, "Wait, so are you dead or not?"
That's fair. There is also a quick scene after the credits. Did you see that? Or did you?
Yeah, there's a very quick scene after the credits, but also it does not answer that question. It basically just shows the group again and then shows you resting in a dead position happily, and that's the end.
Yeah, it's just basically reinforcing the gang looks pretty happy. You look
Yeah.
at peace. And that is kind of where it leaves it. Yes.
Yeah. So the ultimate takeaway here is sort of what I thought when the fight initially happened, which is you sacrificed yourself in order to seal death back away. This is my interpretation.
Sure.
And Ryoji, because Ryoji even was like, he learned what everybody else learns at some point. He just learned it a little bit sooner than most. And then you get to show back up. And so, like, the interpretation I had was you died basically in that moment, but Ryoji gave you a last little bit of time to reunite with your friends and get them back to giving them their memories before you sort of really couldn't hold together anymore and had to pass on. And it's very sad.
I think that's totally fair. I think a big thing for me there, and something I didn't want to bring up if you hadn't mentioned it until this point, was because it was funny you brought up the pop quiz about what your final attack was. Do you remember what the cost of the final attack was?
Is it like all of your life or
it
something?
It is all your HP. Yeah, it is not like everything but one, all your MP. It is your entire life bar, which obviously no attack would ever do. And so you are choosing to die in that moment to protect everyone is kind of what happens there.
Right.
Which,
nice little detail.
yeah, it's a really sweet little thing that I was like, if he brings it up, I'm just going to be like, huh, that's interesting, and move on. So I was glad when it didn't become a conversation. But yeah, I guess, you messaged me, I assume, pretty immediately after it ended. So I guess, like, how do you feel about the ending? I guess either in that moment / now. Like, how do you feel about it?
I was very, not conflicted, but like, wow, damn, did they really do that at the end? And then since I've sat with it a little longer, I definitely really like the ending. I think it's a very unexpected one that makes a lot of sense. I feel like that's when an ending has really hit the nail on the head, is when you don't necessarily fully see it coming, but also it fits perfectly with what the game is doing once it arrives.
Yeah.
And I think this did that. I think this did this incredible job of threading the needle between making this feel justified, making it feel like it made sense, making it feel very somber and sad, but at the same time very warm, very peaceful. The whole setting of the cherry blossoms and sitting with your head on Aegis's lap, it's just like really a gorgeous way to bring this character's story to an end. The fact that you never see your team sad that you died. You just see them happy to be back together, I think is really, really sweet.
Yeah.
It also just goes on with the whole themes of the game of like, this whole game is about accepting death and understanding that it will come for everyone and not, it's literally, I wrote down the quote from Aegis that you said because I think it is the kind of the summary of it, which is she says the reason to live is to follow your heart, fighting for what you can change and accepting what you can't. And like, that's literally what they did.
Yeah.
They changed it so that the world didn't end. They could do that, but they can't stop death.
Yeah.
Right? Like they could stop this calamity. They could fight for that and they could fight for everybody else, but that doesn't mean death isn't going to happen anymore. It's like, it's just a really touching end. And I think it fits in a sort of beautiful little way. Yeah, I do think the end itself sort of suffers from the same problems that the whole game does of being X number of years old and feeling a little like they couldn't go full all out with some of it.
Yeah.
But I also don't think they needed to do much more. I really think the fact that it was sort of subtle and sweet and calm and was very smart. And I think it's a unique ending within games I have played, and I really, really liked that.
Yeah, I appreciate how committed it is to that, because there is a world where I think the first time I beat it, I was very similar in the sense of like, it made total sense to me, and I wasn't expecting it, but I also had a degree of like, there was an initial pang for me in the first time I beat it where I was like, no, that's not fair. A very real reaction to a death of like, I want them all to be happy together. Don't do that to me. Like,
right.
Especially as a work of fiction, it's like, you could have written it for them to all be happy. There was like that immediate reaction from me, which I think is a part of it. I do think it wants to maybe draw that from some people, but but the second time I was very choked up the first time I saw it. The second time I beat it, I legitimately was like crying my eyes out, because I think like knowing it was coming the whole time allowed me to appreciate, I think, the way that it does such a tremendous job of actually building that way, but still letting it feel surprising when you get there for the first time.
I think we've talked about this previously about like when a game can evoke an emotion in you genuinely, rather than just sort of like telling you how to feel, like that feeling of like making the ending feel blindsiding or frustrated that it's not this happy ending is so the point of it. Yeah. Because that's how this should feel. Yeah. Is like, that's so hard to do.
Oh,
right?
yeah,
That's
yeah.
so hard to do in any media because the inclination as a viewer is to say they got something wrong or to blame it in some way.
Yeah.
And that's that's missing the point to some extent.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And again, I am really glad they didn't cheapen this at all with like them seeing your body and being sad or any sort of longer scene like that. The fact that they ended it of the group back together happy and you just sort of like at peace with Igus is just made, yeah, it's good. It's good.
Yeah. No, it's a really beautiful moment that I think, at the end of the day, this whole game has been about death and finding your life's purpose, and the conflict between those two things of like, we're all running against the clock and we have no idea how long our clock runs. And so do you take advantage of that time? Do you not? How do you, deal with the battle between those two instincts? And I think like the way in which it then shows that with the main character works fantastically in this moment for what I would say is also like a character that you and I, like they're a pretty blank slate of a character for the most part, or like obviously as a silent protagonist, they are informed partially by you, the player.
Yeah, I think that's like one of the only thing that like hampers it ever so slightly is that he is such a blank slate of a character that it is like kind of a bummer. But yeah, I agree with you fully. And it does make, I complained a month ago or whatever to some extent that the ending was very Deus Ex Machina-y, and it is still, I think, very Deus Ex Machina-y, but it didn't come with no cost, right? No. That is a part of that I would have known if I was playing the game like a not idiot. So I think it does recontextualize that criticism, and I still think that ending was a little bit Deus Ex Machina silly, but
for sure,
it is more of framing it more of a sacrifice rather than becoming Superman is a big difference.
Absolutely. And I think, at the end of the day, him it is very much the Persona thing of like, your power is derived from the, support of the people around you. But I think, at the end of the day, it's like, if the message here is that he sacrificed himself, but he was powerful enough to do so because he cared for other people, I'm okay with that being like the Deus Ex Machina niche of it to a degree, because if you're telling people, hey, be good to one another and help people out, that's good. I'm cool with that. Yeah.
Totally. And then you get a very pretty new menu screen, which I thought was a nice touch.
You do. It's a very beautiful opening menu. It has that piano theme playing in it. It's the empty classroom with kind of like I think it focuses mostly on the one like C's sash and gun. It's really sweet. Well, that's the end.
We did
it. Before we wrap up, I would, of course, if it works for you time-wise, Tom, would like to, involve some of the wonderful patrons over at the Patreon. No?
Absolutely not.
Fair enough. That's what we've said this whole time. No, thank you.
Listen.
We've moved on.
Just like Igus said, accept what you can't change.
No,
go ahead.
No, we have a few really wonderful thoughts here from people. Also, just want to say thank you, and Tom, I'll make sure you see all these, but just everyone being like, thank you for doing the show. Thank you for, letting us be a part of this, and we really, really appreciate it. One I did want to start off with was Mark wrote in over at the Patreon and said, we haven't had a pop quiz question for a few weeks, so I thought I'd ask one. What was the persona that the main character first awakened to at the beginning of the game?
I remember what it looks like. I'm trying to think back to the DLC from P5 Royal.
That's fair. I'm going to find...
I don't remember the name. That
is fair. So, Tromedlove 87, I want to make sure I'm saying that correctly, probably not, but that's me, did say, and they commented this a little bit earlier, but it said, I commented on this a month or two ago, but now that Tom has finished the game, I'd love to know if he ever realized that the death persona, Thanatos, that Ryoji shows you as his true form in your room, is the exact same alternate persona that the main character summons way back in April to protect Yukari on the first ever full moon. It happens in an anime cutscene where Thanatos literally rips his way out of Orpheus and then bloodily destroys the shadow. There's even a brief flash of Pharos' face when it happens, showing that even though you as the player have no way of knowing what it means at the time, Pharos/Thanatos/Ryoji has been inside you all along.
Oh, I forgot about that scene.
Yeah.
Because I forgot about that scene.
Yeah.
Because I recognized his persona, or Thanatos. I recognized that design, but I thought I had recognized it again from the P5 DLC, because I think it is also a P5 DLC persona.
I think so, yeah.
And so I thought I had just recognized it for that, but that's a really cool detail. That's a really, really cool detail, and I totally had forgotten about that.
Yeah. No, it's very cool. I really appreciate that that's in there, and getting to play it again and seeing that moment, I was like, oh yeah, it is really, it's just right in front of you from the jump. It's great.
That's sweet.
Moving on from there, Mark had a few great thoughts. One other one I wanted to bring up was just a bit of a longer comment, but they said, Tom and Jonathan, thank you both so much for hosting this season. I've really enjoyed all of your conversations and analysis. You've made Mondays something for me to look forward to. I'm glad you both enjoyed the game, and I'm glad you're both taking a well-deserved rest to spend time with your loved ones and work on other projects. If there's ever another season, I look forward to subscribing all over again. I've seen and heard many people mention their own experiences with loss. My own mother died less than a month before Reload released. I was honestly conflicted over whether or not I should play this game so soon after her passing. At funerals, it's heartening to see so many people coming together to celebrate, pay their respects, and offer their condolences. Then you go home, and the finality of it all hits you, and there's the business of carrying on one day at a time. It's like a heaviness that feels like it will never go away, and yet there's a job to do and loved ones to look after. So don't mind me. I don't want to bring everyone down. I'll be fine, really. Usually video games offer me a feeling of escape. Reload did that, but gave me something else. I was able to sit down and play the game, and without having to say anything, know that someone understood. I hope you believe me when I say that I am truly sorry for your loss. I hope the passage of time brings you healing, comfort, and a deeper connection with those that you love. And thank you for all being a part of this journey. This game means more to me than I can say. And really appreciate all of that. Obviously, of course, Mark, I'm very sorry for your loss so recently. And for everyone else who has experienced that, I think there is something to this game, you know, to the point of Mark saying that I think there is very much moments in this game where I was like, oh, it does, people do know what I've gone through, when sometimes you can feel very not self-absorbed, but like isolated in your grief. And so to see it reflected in this game, reflecting, I think, so many different forms of grief, I am sure it has hit many people in different ways. So it's wonderful of you to share that with us and with the community, and I think a wonderful, you know, example of what this game can be for people.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. And I think also that's part of probably why, again, I really loved the game, but you know, part of probably why we had the conversation about, God, which was it? There was one storyline that really hit for you specifically that we talked about on an episode, or Yukari, Yukari,
yeah.
And also just like the Mitsuru stuff in general, and like, yeah, I think that's probably part of why, like, you know, it maybe hasn't gut punched me in the way I know it did a lot of people, is like, I have not, you know, lost a parent, right? I haven't had some of these experiences that people have had. Not that I'm, you know, lamenting that or whatever. I'm not complaining here.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, it's so fascinating and cool and nice to hear that this game gets those things so right.
Yeah.
You know, because I think it's easy to talk. It's easy to write things that sound like these things and these experiences. And so to hear that it's not just talking, it is speaking from a place of clearly somebody who had a hand in making the original game or this game or whatever, or both, have gone through stuff like this and know what they're talking about, is deep and is nice to hear, honestly, because yeah, I think a lot of the times big RPGs can sort of just tell a story for the sake of it. and it's nice that this is not doing that.
No, I think that's what's been most impressive to me, especially replaying it and, as we've talked about a lot, knowing how old this game is and kind of also just the pantheon of the development of video game storytelling and all those sorts of things, of how deep this game was, especially probably for its time. And I think the themes it tackled and did so well is very impressive.
Yeah.
Moving on from there, just very quickly, Alex asked, and I imagine you haven't, so I have it prepared, but Alex asked, did either of you look up the English translation of Memories of You, which plays at the end? And if so, did those affect your feeling on the ending? Obviously, I assume you have not.
I did not look up that translation.
This is the ending theme of Persona 3. So just to kind of give a little bit of it, it's very in the moment, and I think will become very apparent quickly what's being talked about here. But the opening of the song is, and this is the translation that is on the SMT wiki, so that is where I am pulling from. Forgive me if there are more accurate or different translations, but here it says, "The voice of the wind and droplets of light flow over you as you doze. I will never forget the gentle smile and the eyes you hid in sorrow. You gave me the courage to wish, even when it hurts, and to fight. So I can go on in my dreams. Even when I wake up, I will see you again. I sing with a distant memory in my heart. You defended this fragile and fleeting world with your hands, so please fold your wings and rest, sheltered by an eternal peace. Love through all eternity. Rest now in my arms as I watch over you, as I recall your joy, your sorrow, and your rage. I'll remember you always until my life is exhausted." And it continues on, but obviously as this clearly message from Aegis to you.
That's
it's
so
really
sad.
beautiful. Yeah, I really recommend reading, the full lyrics. It's really beautiful. It's long, and I don't want to bore you all because I can't sing it. But it's a really
Shatner style.
No, it's a really beautiful translation. I do really appreciate Alex you calling that out because I had no idea. Yeah.
Thank you.
Also, they mentioned in a New Game Plus ending of the PSP version only, there are alternate final scenes where one of the other C's members reaches you before everyone else. They didn't say who, but I'm kind of like, I gotta go find out who that is.
A continuing thread of this game is it is insane how many different versions it has.
Yes, it is absolutely wild.
It's like five maybe, because there were 3 versions originally plus the female protagonist alternate path and then this version, so I think it's 5.
That's insane. What a game. And to still be this memorable for people and not it's so convoluted and yet it's still so beloved is impressive.
Yeah.
John said, speaking of Memories of You, honestly, I heard the ending song before even playing it, and even that it made me feel like crying. It's just so perfect. It's sounding both sad and happy at the same time. And when I played Reload, the song hit on a whole nother level. I really love the ending to this game. It's tragic and beautiful, and it really drives home what the game is all about. After the credits, when you're taken back to the main menu, but now the music and scenes are different, that just got me wanting to cry again. Also talking to Kamiki's mom destroyed me. On a lighter note, I was caught off guard by how comically intense a performance the actor for Maiko's dad in the Japanese version gave for this one scene. I don't know who he is, but wow, and they linked to a clip of it, and I'll share it with you. It's very funny. Anyway, don't have a question. These are just some of my thoughts. Thanks for creating such a great show every week, and I look forward to episode Aegis. And I just thought that was a funny little shout out.
Yeah, thank you.
As I look through the others, just to make sure we hit on all the main ones, Tromad Love also did ask who was, and I guess we didn't really rank them or anything, but who was your favorite Final Day Confidant finale?
Oh, I think so. I liked Toriumi's was the most fun, I think, but I do think Kamiki's mom was the one that just is the realist. It is just it's so raw. It is so unfiltered in terms of this game has a thing to say and has messages it wants to communicate and is not afraid of making you feel bad to say what it wants to say in a very genuine way. And I think that's really, as weird as this is to call it, refreshing. Yeah. It was it felt very real in a really impressive way to me. And the Toriumi scene is sort of a favorite for the opposite reason. It's just so over the top, silly and fun. But yeah, those two stood out to me
Yeah.
I think.
They mentioned a line here from Kamiki's, because that was obviously a favorite for them as well. I don't think we mentioned it, so just wanted to make sure I read it as they felt it pretty neatly sums up the main themes of the game. Take good care of the ones you hold dear. If you wait until their day comes, it's too late. Clinging to their cold bodies won't bring them back. And like, to your point, she does not pull punches when she's talking to you about how rough a situation she's going through. And Tromad Loves just said, I lost a parent in the last year and I deeply wish I had spent more time with them. This line hit me like a sledgehammer and I still think about it from time to time. And of course, thank you again for sharing with us, and so sorry for your loss. We appreciate obviously that you've been listening and sticking with us, and that this game could, I think be so evocative for you as it clearly is for so many others. But yeah. Moving on from there, just a couple last ones to wrap up. P. King asked, Tom, do you regret waiting the full month before finishing the game?
No, I touched on this. I don't. Yeah. I'm glad I did. I obviously, I think if I was ever playing it again, I would want to just play it normally, and I would not recommend other people play it this way, but I do think it was worth waiting to say that I did actually do it all the way, and it didn't feel like it ruined the end for me or whatever. Even though, again, I do agree, Jonathan is right. It would flow better if I hadn't done that.
Yeah, but I'm glad it still worked, and as you said, the kind of like nicety of it lining up with the memory subplot is nice. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Francis asked in a very lighthearted way, which of the following happens first? The first episode of your next season or the release of Kingdom Hearts 4? And time will tell. But,
time will tell.
Yeah. God, I hope we get a trailer this year for that. Anyway, I believe the last one I'm just saving. Oh, also wanted to mention Mark put in just a fantastic sort of connection to the fact that this story really relates to Orpheus and Eurydice and their storyline really well. And I also think if you're enjoying Orpheus and Eurydice connections, 1, Hades, 2, Hades Town, and 3, Severance should all be on your lists.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that show in that context. I haven't seen the most recent episode. Don't tell me.
I won't. It was even before this episode. I've been I watched someone do a good breakdown of how this relates to like almost perfectly them in many ways. I was like, damn, that's great.
That's the not turning around one, right? Just to make sure I've got my mythology correct.
Yeah.
I thought so. I was like 99% sure. But,
though not the biblical one.
Yes,
of turning around and becoming a pillar of salt. That whole thing.
Oh, that one I don't know.
That one's not great. I don't know why they taught us that one.
What does it say about me that I know Greek mythology better than like Christianity or Catholicism?
It says that I think the Greek mythology has made for a lot more interesting content. Probably. As someone who went to Catholic school for 12 years, I feel confident in saying that.
Don't you slander Veggie Tales.
That's fair. You're right. Anyway, just wanted to say definitely really appreciated that breakdown there. And then last but not least, did mention this, but I thought just a good note to end on. Bob and Tim 64 asked, this ending, man, I can never prepare myself for it. I always cry during the credits of this game. It's just that good. So my question is, did the credits make you cry? And the credits didn't make me cry, but I definitely was crying. What if I could say what really got me this time was, since I knew what was happening, the first group shot of them all running so happily just knocked me flat. I was like,
yeah, that's brutal.
God, knowing what's coming.
Seeing them do that whole running and cutting back to them as I was piecing together what was happening was really like, oh, dang.
Yeah, no, it's rough. But again, what helps break through that crying is Ken holding Koromaru like he's a long tube.
Yeah.
It's so cute.
And to answer your question, no, I didn't cry, but I'm a robot.
That's fair.
I think the closest I've ever come to crying at media was the end of Toy Story 3.
I was going to say pretty notoriously you don't cry at things. So
yeah. It's just, sorry.
That's fine. It happens. Whereas
I feel the feelings, the tears, they just don't, that's okay. It's not a thing I've done much in my life. And it's not even like to be very clear, it's not like I'm a big macho man who doesn't cry. It's just like some people's physiology is different and my body just doesn't cry very easily.
If there's one thing I know about you, it's how you go around calling yourself Macho Man Tom Barnes.
That's me.
I don't feel feelings. No, it's that exception, I totally get where you're coming from, though. It's like it's possible to feel those things and not have the external reaction at the same time. It is definitely possible. Yeah. Whereas I cried almost every episode of The Leftovers. So if you want a good counterbalance, here we are.
Why does the show keep coming back to The Leftovers?
Because it's about death. And that's what this game is about. That, honestly, I've been thinking about that show a lot in context of this game. I think I am just, as we've talked about, and as one, I appreciate everyone being so open about it, but as someone who has lost both of my parents young and experienced a lot of other death in my family, I naturally gravitate to and am interested in stories about death and grief and all those things. And I wish I had played this game when I was younger, because I think it would be like a game that, like many other people, I would have, shouted from the rooftops about how much I loved it, especially at that age. But I'm really glad I did get to finally experience the story, because I think it is really, really well done. And though I would say on the whole, this is not a thing we need to get into now, because this is a whole nother episode, frankly. But like, while I think Persona 5 is probably a better game, I do think I felt more emotional connection to this game at the end of the day.
Sure.
For me personally. Yeah.
Yeah, I see that. And I think I after this ending feel very similarly to the way I've talked about it on the show before, which is I agree. I think Persona 5 is just a better game overall, especially with the Royal updates, just because, they had they had a game in between, and they had a lot to learn from, and games generally, when developers are paying attention, get better with iteration.
Yeah.
But yeah, this game certainly had stronger character work than P5 does, I think, in most cases of P5. Not all. There were some really good characters in P5.
Absolutely, yeah.
Very specifically, like the things people go through and the cohesion of its overall message and its power of that message, I think, is all really, really, really good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I know we're not doing P4, but what's the timeline like on The Leftovers?
How do we watch that show in real time?
Yeah.
Oh boy. Well, there is like a 3-year time jump in the first episode. So we watch the opening when you see it happen, when everyone gets leftovered.
And then we'll wait 3 years?
And then I think you wait 2 or 3 years to start the show. And then I think there's another couple time jumps in there. So yeah, I think
maybe not. We'll table that one.
We'll figure that one out. That's after our Pikmin show, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, any other wrap-up thoughts before we conclude there? I think we've covered it pretty exhaustively, but obviously want to make sure.
I have a pop quiz.
Excellent. Tom, what is your pop quiz?
So the question is, do I reveal the answer to this now?
No, you leave it for a month from now.
For episode August?
Yeah.
All right. Well, there are lots of cherry blossoms falling at the end of this game, and it's very lovely. And if you talk to the store owner of the flower shop before you finish the game, that period where you can do the Friendstravaganza, they tell you the meaning of cherry blossom flowers. So that's what my question is for all of you. What, according to the owner or worker at Rafflesia, however you say that, is the meaning of cherry blossom flowers? And we will reveal that on our final extra bonus episode, IGUS episode, in a month.
Yes. I really thought you were going to be like, how many petals are on screen? Thankfully, it's not that. Yes.
What is the exact time of death?
Jesus.
Sorry.
It's weird there was a doctor on screen being like, time to call it.
Yeah.
No, it's, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
You can leave those comments. Take your time.
No, well, not the Patreon, because it will be closed. Though I might post it there for everyone. We'll probably leave it posted there. So patreon.com/takeyourtime.
That one.
Yeah.
Dornology@gmail.com. YouTube.com/Dornology. I'm at Tom R. Marks. He's at JM Dornbush. Last thing I want to say is everything you said, which is thank you, everyone. It's really been a pleasure. I'm so glad we can tack on, a whole Q&A at the end of this episode, of episodes like this, and I'll learn things about the game that I didn't know when we get to dig into them that way, and people are very receptive to what we're talking about. It makes me very, very happy. So I really appreciate all of that.
Yeah.
And I appreciate all of you for listening and watching.
Me too. And while we'll, have our time to say our final goodbyes of this kind of overarching Persona 3 Reload playthrough at the end of the month, as we mentioned, we will be covering episode Aegis. The plan is for that episode to release on March 31st. So look forward to that in just about a month from now. Play at your own pace. Take your time if you need to, but not too much time. And we really hope you'll enjoy that. It'll be a fun thing to dig into and a fun way to wrap up this whole experience. And
yeah, and we'll probably take some more questions or whatever talking about the DLC during that, so feel free to leave us more comments.
Yeah.
Here's a question that I have to end this episode.
Okay.
Can I watch the, intro cinematic scene when you select episode Aegis on the menu?
You can now, yes. Yeah, you can watch that now.
Is that's not gonna have spoilers in it?
I mean, it will show there is a new character.
Because I started episode Aegis and there's a lady standing in the middle of the room that I don't recognize, and immediately I'm like, oh.
Yeah, there is a new character shown in there who you will not recognize, but I would say it's the same amount as if you watched the P3 opening before you've played. You don't know who any of those people are.
Yeah, but also the P5 Strikers opening is hey, by the way, here are all the people that are going to join you didn't know about.
I think you're safe to watch it. It's a good tone setting, I guess, to some degree.
Okay.
So
I'll watch it.
I think it's safe to watch it.
You know what? The funniest example of this is Valkyria Chronicles. Specifically, when Valkyria Chronicles came to PC, the intro cutscene for that game is wildly spoilery. Irresponsibly spoilery, to be frank. And on PC, the only way to skip it is by pressing escape specifically, and I think maybe even escape twice. So you can just be my boss. When I was at PC Gamer, Evan Lottie, the first time he played that game, he was like, why did the game unskippably spoil major parts of it for me? And I was like, oh, you just have to hit escape. And he's like, that is the dumbest thing. And he wasn't wrong. It was very frustrating.
Yeah.
Anyway, I never want the show to end.
That's fair. I think you'll be safe. I think you'll be good. Watch it. It's got a good song. It's fun to watch. And
yeah, I watched the first 20 seconds and I was like, I should stop.
Cool. Well, I don't know if we'll get to them too, but there is a new boss added as well to the DLC that I hope we'll get to discuss. I'll just leave that as a little hint.
Okay.
It has specifically been ruined in a trailer that the day that trailer premiered, I screamed at Tom over Discord not to watch the trailer. So
right.
So that's there as well. Just keeping that in mind.
Okay, poker face. Is it Jose?
That would be rad. He's the final secret boss. No, we'll find out in a month. But yeah, other than that, as Tom said, thank you to everyone out there for supporting us, for being along with us. It has truly, truly been a joy. And also on top of that, Tom, a genuine thank you for continuing to do this silly experiment with me.
You too. It's always a pleasure.
It is such a blast. Obviously, despite our joking about it, as we are friends outside of the show, it is still, continue to be a wonderful part of our friendship. And especially, I don't think I've mentioned, but I've had some rough times over the last year, and doing this show with you has always been a highlight and meant so much for me during those times to look forward to. So thank you for being a part of this, and for doing it with me, and for suggesting it in the first place and committing us to the bit as you did.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Good. It'd be really funny if you're I was a mistake. And with that all said, thank you so much to everyone for listening, for watching, for being with us, for experiencing this beautiful story with us. We love you all. We hope you're staying safe. We hope you're doing well. And for almost the final time, we'll have one more at the end, I guess this is my final time because you're hosting. So for the final time, I hope you seize the day.
Does that mean the series is going to end on Annihilator?
It does.